Hey guys, today I'm showing you how to crochet these knit look sleeves. As you can see, it has this beautiful knit look and the fabric is very stretchy as well. These are also very easy to make. I just used one stitch for the whole thing. They're really giving me this Y2K vibe and I just love them. So this is the yarn I'm going to be using. It is an 8-ply yarn and it calls for a 4mm crochet hook. But because of the stitch I'm going to be using, I sized up to 5mm. Apart from those, you'll also need scissors, a yarn needle to weave in ends, and 2 stitch markers. First of all, you're going to make a slip knot. So you grab your yarn, create a loop like this, and then pull this through this loop like that. So that's a slip knot. And then you insert your hook. And then you're going to make a chain, so yarn over, and pull it through the loop on the hook. Chain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you continue chaining until you have 60 chains. So that's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, and then 60. So now I have 60 chains. So this is the length of the sleeves. This length is from here to here. It measures about 16.5 inches, which is about 42 centimeters. If 60 chains doesn't reach about here, you can chain more. You can pretty much add many chains as you want because there's no requirement for the beginning chain number. Okay, so after 60 chains, I'm going to begin working row 1. So I chain 1 to turn at this end, and in the second chain from the hook, you're going to insert your hook there, and then make a slip stitch. To do that, yarn over, pull that loop through, and then pull that through that as well. So that's the first slip stitch. I'm going to place a stitch marker in these top 2 loops. Okay, and then you continue from the next chain here, insert again and make a slip stitch. So yarn over, pull it through, and then pull that through this loop. So basically you're just going to continue doing that. Work 1 slip stitch in each stitch like that all the way to the end of the chain. And when you make the slip stitch, make sure you don't work the stitches too tight because that would shorten the beginning chain. Okay, now I have 2 chains left. I'm gonna work 1 slip stitch in each of them. That's the last one. Okay, so that's row 1. Row 2 is the same as row 1. So at the beginning of the row, you just chain 1, turn your work, and that is the chain. That's the first stitch, and these are the top 2 loops of the first stitch. When I work, I'm only gonna insert in the back loop, which is this one, like that, and then make a slip stitch. So yarn over and make a slip stitch. Again, I'm going to mark this first stitch, place it in both of the top 2 loops. And then you can continue working this row in the same way. So you're going to insert your hook in the back loop of each stitch. Make sure you find the correct top 2 loops. And from here, you're just going to do the same thing, insert in the back loop of each stitch, and then work a slip stitch loosely So I'm at the end of row 2, that's the second last stitch, work a slip stitch. And that's the last stitch because it's marked. I'm only gonna insert in the back loop like that and slip stitch. So that's row 2. I can take out this stitch marker. And from row 3, you can just keep repeating row 2. So you chain 1 at the beginning of the row. From the very first stitch, work a slip stitch in the back loop of every stitch. And then you mark both loops of this very first stitch. And continue working your row like that to the last stitch, which is marked. And then in that stitch, also insert in the back loop to work a slip stitch. So you're just going to continue working back and forth like that to make this sleeve wider until it can wrap around your arm. I'll see you back here. Okay, so now I have 21 rows here. Now I can wrap around my arm like this, and depending on your preference, you can make it tighter by working fewer rows or looser by working more rows, but it can't be too loose and it's supposed to fit snug, otherwise it'll just fall off your arm. So next I'm going to join the edges together. So when I finished row 21, I chained 1 and then place it like this. So you have the yarn tail here, and you're gonna join it like this. So you're gonna make sure you line up the stitches. This edge is actually the beginning chain, so it doesn't look like normal stitches. So I'm gonna join them stitch to stitch. On this edge, I'm gonna start from this, stitch the very first stitch here. So insert it like that. And then pull this yarn through, pull it through that one, and then pull tight. So now the corners are joined. I'm gonna move on to the second stitch. So just go into the next space on this edge, and on this one I'm gonna insert in both loops. So before you would insert in the back loop, now you're gonna insert in both loops. But you're gonna find the second stitch. So if you can see here, that's chain 1, that's the first stitch, that's the second stitch. So I'm gonna go in the second stitch here, insert in both loops, and slip stitch. So yarn over, pull it through, and then pull it through that loop as well, like that. And then you're just going to continue working like this, joining this edge stitch to stitch. And at the end of the row, it should look like this. So I have 2 stitches on this end and 2 stitches here, and that being the last one. And then into the last stitch. And then here you can chain 1, cut this yarn, and pull this through. So now you have something like this. This seam is supposed to be on the inside, so you need to flip this over. But before that, you have these tails you need to weave in. So just grab your yarn needle, and you're just going to go through this seam like that. And then you can tie a knot here. And cut this yarn. Do the same thing for the other tail as well. And then after that, you can flip this over, and one sleeve is finished. So now you can go ahead and rewind the video and repeat the same steps for the other sleeve. After that, your sleeves are done.